Let's go. Hey, Bridge. So, the first 2 weeks of July have merely consisted of me being actually quite ill. I had holiday this week and I had no plans for my holiday. I basically was just planning on dog sitting. In all fairness, I haven't been sick for like a year, I would want to say. So I'm not entirely surprised that my body decided that this is the right time of year to shut down. Kiko, you're in my shot. I can't. Hello, are you doing the vlog? Are you doing the vlog now? But it's okay. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time that I was a hermit for a while. You know, like a hermit back in like when you back in like school summers, where the summers seem to go on forever, even though our summer back in school was like only 6 weeks. But you would just have like days and days, because obviously like days that you'd hang out with your friends, especially if you're in a city and you actually kind of live quite far away from your friends, you would like plan those in, but otherwise the rest of the days kind of blurred together and you kind of were just like vibing at home. I feel like as soon as I have like free time, I either have to plan in like seeing my friends or doing like an activity at home, or like if I am going to do nothing at home, it will just be like one day and then the next day I'm going to go out with my friends again, and then like it won't be like a whole week where I can just kind of let the days pass by and I have no clue what day it is, or feel like the need to be productive all the time because my whole body is shutting down. And if I want to sleep, I can just sleep. I have no obligations to anyone. I think we need to allow ourselves these periods of just like, oh, I have nothing planned, I have nothing to do, and then also allow ourselves to not be ashamed of that, of not being the most productive. I was like learning about this thing recently which is called, I want to say monochronic. So monochronic culture views time as linear, tangible and finite. People in these societies treat time as a commodity to be spent, saved or wasted. They prioritize punctuality, rigid scheduling and completing one task before beginning the next. Whereas polychronic culture views time as fluid, flexible and circular rather than strict and linear. Coined by the anthropologist Edward Hall, these societies prioritize interpersonal relationships, simultaneous multitasking, and shared experiences over rigid deadlines and clock-based schedules. I think we're all, especially living in places like the UK, we're also drawn to wanting to be the most productive with our times and spending time as efficiently as possible in terms of like development. And maybe it's a thing of like making sure that we know the difference between being productive and being intentional with our time, and but also at the same time allowing these grey spaces to accumulate, allowing spaces to be like, okay, it's around this time, or this is what I'm thinking of doing, but I don't necessarily have to do, and like allow, because I feel like in those spaces you can, like, the most innovation happens, and it allows your brain to rest, it allows your mind to rest. Allow yourself to get bored. Anyway, this is what I'm kind of doing now. I'm kind of doing nothing with my dogs. Yeah, aren't we? We're having a good time doing nothing. Yeah. She says, "Come for a paddle." Keeks! Hey, Keeks! It took me a couple of tries, but I made this fire, which is so cool. Yay! I know how to make fire, which I probably should know, considering how long I've been camping for in my life. But I haven't done one by myself in a little bit, so. I thought I would just take a moment to quickly talk about the book that I just finished reading called Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Shuangji. This is the winner of the International Booker Prize for 2026 this year, and it is very much well deserved. I think it was a very competitive list for the International Booker. It always is. This is a disguised Japanese travel novel written by an author called Ayama Chizuko, talking about her experiences living in Taiwan for a year, alongside her relationship with her interpreter and translator, Chizuru, who is Taiwanese, specifically Hokkien. It essentially follows their journey throughout the year, traveling to different places in Taiwan. It centers a lot around food, so each chapter is titled with a specific dish that they try, or Ayama is introduced to. This is set in the early 20th century when Taiwan was underneath Japanese occupation, specifically during a time when Japan was trying to assimilate Taiwan into their overall empire that they were trying to grow. It's part of the Southern Expansion project. So I was reading a review the other day, and there's this beautiful word that I've never heard of, and this really interesting phrase that I've never heard of, and it's called gastropoetics, which is really cool. And it essentially is when food is used as a conduit to discussing these different stories. It's a really interesting commentary on how even nowadays colonial and imperialistic contexts allow for the ease of travel from mainly Western countries to these or global North countries to exotic places where these Western tourists global north tourists, privileged tourists, get to consume another's culture, almost observing it as one would an item in a museum, but not really truly understanding or appreciating or empathizing with the history and the wants and heartbreak and trauma of the islands or of the post-colonial states that they're traveling to. I think there's a lot here that can be taken away, especially in a day and age where it feels like travel has always been a commodity, but because of how accessible it is now, it's even more so a commodity. And this essentially does really well in terms of showing that it's not just the people who are blatantly ignorant or have blatantly bad intentions who are feeding into the toxicity in these touristic relationships. In actuality, you can have very good intentions and feel like you are helping in some way, and it's often that savior complex that often leads to further misunderstanding and ignorance about people's situations. Anyway, I don't know if any of that made sense, but this is really good. Really, really good. I really enjoyed reading it. I think it's really worth reading. So if you feel like picking it up, please do. Anyway, yes.
Because sometimes cats are not very friendly, but this one was so